I have an estranged relationship with Halo. I've been a fan of Halo since I was 9, but I wouldn't own any of the games until I got a copy of Reach in high school. Early on in my life, most of my consoles were secondhand. A garage sale PlayStation, flea market Genesis, glitchy SNES. Any recently released games I got were Game Boy games, mainly Pokemon, from my grandmother for my birthday or Christmas. I spent a lot of time playing JRPGs and other platformers made before I was even born, until I was lucky enough to win a PS2 in a library raffle when I was 8, and my mom snagged a GameCube shortly after. Finally, we were playing with the Joneses. Except... if you were in the gaming scene around 2002 to 2003, it was impossible to escape Halo, especially if you were a military brat on an Air Force base. Everything was Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Halo. Even though most of the airmen I knew were playing Metal Gear Solid, Doom, or Wolfenstein, all of their kids couldn't stop talking about how sweet Master Chief was. I'd finally get my chance to play Halo when my uncle came to visit. He had that horrible pea-soup translucent Xbox that screamed 2000s. Handed me his Mad Catz backup controller with a sticky trigger, and we blasted through the campaign in a matter of hours. Even though I was just following his lead and continually throwing grenades at myself or walking off cliffs, I got it. I finally got what all the other kids on the playground were going on about. Halo had a tactile feel to it that not even a shitty Mad Catz could ruin. Shooting grunts was responsive, unlike with the demons in Doom. The controls were simple, unlike Metal Gear Solid, and its breakneck pace had me enthralled the whole ride. It had me hooked. So imagine my disappointment to the footage of Halo Infinite some 18 years later during the 2020 Xbox event. It still looks good, mind you. Just watching the gameplay flexes my muscle memory. But I was expecting to be wowed, not just, oh hey, it has a map and a grappling hook now. Neat. And while that flaccid feeling washed over me, I had a thought. Where's the Halo of fantasy games? Is it Skyrim? God, we could do better than Skyrim. Don't get me wrong, I love Skyrim, but the combat in that game is lacking. And I want a crunchy fantasy game you can pick up and put down without needing to play with perks, mess with menus, memorize enemy type weaknesses. How do we make a fantasy game that will satisfy John Dudebro and myself? Alright, so let's first ask ourselves, what makes a Halo? Are there any other not Halo Halos we can look at? And how do we translate a sci-fi military shooter to a fantasy setting? Well, Destiny is a not Halo, made by the same people even. Doom 2016 is a not Halo, and Skyrim, I guess. Destiny, Halo, and Doom all prioritize combat over narrative, while Skyrim focuses on exploration and role-playing, something it has in common with Destiny. Halo and Doom have some capacity for exploration, but it's usually in large corridors and set pieces, to shoot stuff in between the hallways you shoot stuff. Honestly, even most of the dungeons in Skyrim fit that description, only I'm huddling in a corner waiting for the enemy to forget I'm there so I can pelt them in the face with another low-damage arrow, because I'm a coward and I can't commit to a magic build. Okay, so we're doing a Destiny, Skyrim, Doom fusion that can be played with friends. That means it needs to be fast-paced with large areas full of jobber enemies that are fun to hit. Wait, that already exists. That's just Vermintide. How do I make Vermintide more appealing to John Dudebro? We need to start from the beginning and show our work like every math teacher yelled at us to do. Step 1, combat. Okay, so we're in a fantasy setting. We need something threatening to hit that can hit us back, but isn't strong enough to kill us outright. So no dragons, giants, gods, and they can't be larger than 2 people standing on top of each other. At least for the first game. Fine. We're killing goblins. Goblinoids, at least. So, hobgoblins, orcs, and even the odd bandit faction. This is a fantasy game. Goblins should be fast and annoying, prone to falling prone, running off the map, but trying their best to swarm us and hit us with traps. Hobs should just be goblins, but useful and harder to kill. Orcs need to be our elites, the real creme de la creme. Hardy, scary in large numbers, and color-coded by badassness. Bandits/mercenaries should feel a bit unpredictable, and also the ones most likely to use ranged weapons. Humans are awfully squishy after all. Now, how we're killing them. I can't imagine we're running around legless Hawkeye style with an unlimited quiver, so we need some swords, axes, and daggers. First person, so we can show off our pretty vistas and save on animations. Enemy encounters designed for co-op, but still doable solo. It still sounds like Vermintide to me. Weapons break. And often, we're going full Breath of the Wild on you. But it won't be so annoying, the sword will just lose effectiveness instead of becoming useless. This encourages switching weapons, but now you're not completely boned if you get backed into a corner with no usable weapons around. To complement the high speed mentality, we need a grasp on movement speed. You'll need to move quickly, but not so quickly that aiming a bow while moving seems impractical. Movement speed should be a light-paced jog, so you're always on the move, but it's not jarring if you come to a full stop and start moving again. Think 0 to 30 instead of 0 to 60. Like, yeah, it's fast, but it's not so fast someone won't react before it's too late. It also lends to a highly mobile run and gun slash playstyle other fantasy games like Skyrim and Vermintide don't quite have. Imagine you have 3 arrows, a short sword. We've come up on a small group of goblins and 2 orcs. You charge ahead, full Terminator. There is no stealth here, bucko. A goblin spots you and charges screaming. You take him out quickly with your bow, losing little speed. The other goblins bicker amongst themselves until an orc barks orders. Now everyone's getting ready for you. Whack, whack. It's easy enough to take out the other 2 goblins, but as you start slashing at the third one, your sword breaks. Great. Well, you could try to take them out with your half-sword like Isildur rolling a nat 20 on Sauron, but better yet, just jam your broken one into the nearest goblin. And take theirs. Think a Doom finisher, a fluid animation that's only a few seconds long, to rest the fingers and allow the enemy to reposition. Now one of the orcs is just bothering you. You both trade blows until you see a flash of blue ruins. Great, your shield broke. Now you need to retreat until the rune shield comes back up, or you can make a big dick energy play and try not to get hit while fighting. You have a few options. You could run backwards while slashing and shooting, possibly take him out with a well-placed magic missile, the fantasy analog to the sticky grenade. Maybe a firebomb. Think a Molotov cocktail. However you do it, there's only one enemy left now. The final orc, but this guy is meaner, greener, and he's got a shield. Every blow to the buckler just bounces off, so you run circles around the jerk. Obviously, you gotta hit him in the back for that big boy damage. So let's talk about how you're getting around. Walking is lame and not fast enough. I want to crash a ghost into my little brother. Cause my friend to drive his sparrow off a cliff. But this is a fantasy game. I don't remember the Pope Mobile being a thing back then. The only warthogs they could ride leave a trail of shit. So how are we zooming around? Fairy dust, baby! Be liberal with that shit. Need a ride? Find a cart and dust that bad boy up. Nibus 2000, more like Cabbage Cart 2000. 1969 Shelby, meet the 1469 Cheese Wagon. And that's your basic gameplay loop. Find a group of enemies, take them out, head to your next objective, maybe hear some dialogue while you walk, find some more enemies. Rinse, repeat. So combat is part 1 of our formula, but why are we here? How is John Dudebro going to convince me, his friend, Clarence McLaurinerd, to play this not RPG? Our simple yet deep narrative, of course. So here we're stealing from Destiny and Doom. I love Skyrim, but the story is largely disjointed pacing-wise, and the stuff I care about is world-building carried over from the previous titles. Now we have 2 paths we could go down for the tone of the story. 100% serious about our recycled hero story, Destiny. 99% apathetic to our revenge story, Doom. Now personally, I prefer the Destiny route. You get more memes from sincerity. So to keep things simple for Dudebro, and because we don't want to anger the ghost of Tolkien, we're going to be playing with my favorite anime trope. Everything is a proper noun. Let's start with our main character. We'll follow Master Chief's example and go with Knight Commander. Full name, Percival. Shortened to Percy, but everyone just calls him Knight Commander. Or Commander, because they confuse his stoicism for hard-assness. After rescuing a fairy, sprite, spirit, nature, ghost, mascot, whatever, from a necromancer, our Knight Commander gets his very marketable moral compass and surprisingly knowledgeable amnesiac fairy guide. Knight Commander is waging a 1 to 4 man army against the whore. That's taken. collective for their constant attacks on... Insert city name here. And the death of his close family member or mentor. Now on the surface, the collective comes off as any other religious Mongolian horde analog, but it's different because... the age-old second-half perspective switch. For 1 to 2 missions, and no longer, you'll be playing as Kai the Sturdy, a female orc. I'm a feminist and shit. As she deals with bigoted human bandits and an asshole hierarchy, while getting a brief glimpse at a more interesting game if the game's market weren't such cowards. After a brief tour with Kai, you'll go back to Knight Commander as he slowly discovers the real threat was... the Corrupt. A guild of necromancers from all walks of life stringing together tragedies and getting the various races and clans to fight one another. In a climactic ending, Kai and Knight Commander will fight a high-ranking corrupt mage and their... clasped undead goons. With an ambiguous ending that gives plenty of room for theorizing and fanon until we can gauge what to put in the sequel. So we've solved for combat and plugged in story. It's finally time to divide by multiplayer. Multiplayer should be simple enough. You need a casual and a competitive scene. Ranking optional. First for casual, we'll have 2 modes, Team Deathmatch and Quarter Hold. Team Deathmatch is self-explanatory. 2 teams fight each other until one hits the necessary score. Matches should last 5 to 10 minutes. Quarter Hold is a bit different. It's capture the hill, 2 teams, 4 zones, victory for whoever holds the most zones after a certain amount of time, or a score limit is hit. These matches should last about 10 to 15 minutes. Realistically, every mode would have a quick queue for people who don't care about which mode they play. Players should be funneled into the lower populated games because waiting for another match is a nightmare. Comp is just those 2 modes, along with a free-for-all for tryhards with numbers that go next to your name that make your brain feel fuzzy when they go up. Multiplayer is where the personality of the devs and the community gets to shine. I'm talking customization, baby. Sure, the game's in first person. Who cares? I want a Minotaur head. To an over-consumer watchdogs, I'm looking at you, Jim Sterling. Loot boxes and raffle-like mechanics should be earned in-game and ineligible for purchase. Lastly, music. Halo thinks it's so cool with its Gregorian chants. Well, I have 2 alternatives who could historically kick a monk's ass. Viking war chants and Mongolian folk metal. Links in the description. As a big-ass Halo, Destiny, and fantasy nerd with 4 years in schooling and marketing, I know this template can make a juggernaut to rival the greats. You know, or someone could rip off For Honor and throw some elves in there or some shit. Hey you, thanks for watching till the end. I'm just starting off, so a like, share, maybe a subscribe, ring that little notification thing, that'd mean a lot. I'll probably never upload another video, this is very difficult. Special thanks to my friend Walker for looking over the script, giving me a lot of feedback, it meant a lot. Take care.